Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're viewing us from, maybe even good morning. But right now, welcome to the conclusion of the Smite Pro League. Well, not the entire one. We got a lot more Smite, 2 more splits, the whole thing. But for today, we're going to see NRG take on SK to close our European day.
You know, both of those teams looked a little shaky to start things off for today. It was SK against Dignitas earlier on. It was 0-2 for them. And then NRG kind of slipped a little bit against Obey Alliance, where they won in week number 2, 2-0, but couldn't have that repeat performance here in week number 5.
I think the story was really about Obey Alliance kind of stepping it up, not necessarily NRG playing down. So as we see them go into SK, I mean, this is really more of a story about SK Gaming. NRG fighting to get their land spot, so they absolutely have to look good against SK Gaming because I think they probably anticipated the win versus Obey. Now, when we look at the other players here in Europe, I think they're very clearly battling it out against Dignitas.
That's very true here. It's so close in the standings. It's Dignitas, NRG, team rival as well, just neck and neck in the standings here. So if NRG lose this one, they could actually slip almost out of that top 2 contention.
Oof. That'll be a tough one. SK Gaming, though, has struggled throughout the season. They are 1-6, actually make that 1-7 after their earlier loss to Team Dignitas. So watching this one go down, this is NRG's game to lose, I think. So we'll get into picks and bans right away to see how they do against SK Gaming.
And knowing that these two teams really prioritize similar mages here for Lawbster and for Yammyn, I can only expect a lot of contention over not only Giannis, but also the Nuwa.
Right. I expect at least one of those to be banned out. We'll see where these teams sort of go, and right away that Nuwa will be the first ban. SK Gaming leading the charge here. NRG option on their side, and it'll be the Giannis.
It's like they
call Anatoly now.
It's like they almost pay me to talk about these teams. But anyway, Achilles, the next pick. I could only tell you the first 2. I don't know anything about after that.
After that statement, I was going to be like, earn your paycheck. Give me the first 3 picks.
Nope, not at all here.
Terra banned out. NRG likes to play her. EmilZy, one of the premier Terra players. We haven't seen her just yet. Nemesis will be the jungler of choice for Faeles. Love this pick because SK Gaming only have a single set win, and in that set win, Faeles was the player to step up in my eyes that really made the impact. And as he continues on this season, and you asked me what character he played, it was the Nemesis. So I like the way he brought it. I like the way he's going to continue bringing it with this first selection. Serqet and Thoth, 2 very powerful picks for NRG.
Very aggressive as well. I don't expect necessarily EmilZy to pilot this Serqet yet again here. Didn't really work out for NRG in the 3rd game against Obey Alliance. They got off to a great start, but once it started slipping up in the mid-game, they couldn't find that balance.
Again, Cerberus and Ra selected here for SK. Ra going to be very wonderful in the hands of Lawbster. Again, I think that Serqet support failure was more about across the way Obey. We did see flashes of greatness. What happened was it was a Serqet and then it was an Isis across the way. So the Serqet support would blink in, use the ultimate to push the player towards the Spirit Ball, and then the stun, and then the eventual kill. Watching here, the Serqet and the Thoth could do similar things, but most importantly, perhaps, is the fact that there is a question. Anytime you can make your opposition be a little bit wary of where you're going to go, that's when you're winning the picks and bans. So Serqet, flexible here for NRG. Ban phase number 2, Athena and Ganesh banned out, so NRG paying attention to the support position, whereas SK taking away those magical hunters, leaving Chulainn for the selection for NRG, and we'll see where they go with the long lane.
I like the Sobek pick also from NRG, just to have the amount of control paired up with the amount of damage between this Thoth Serqet. It's very important to really shut down these team fights as quickly as possible because already SK Gaming has a very resilient composition between the Ra and now the Geb.
Right, Geb is going to make everybody else technically tankier by way of the shields, right? Nemesis can build a little bit tanky, also has her own shield to take home. And Anhur will be the hunter of choice. So it looks like Sobek will be our support. Chulainn over there on the short side, and Serqet roaming around playing free safety in the jungle. NRG versus SK. I think that everybody expects NRG to take this one, so I'm not going to ask you for your prediction. Instead, what I'm going to ask you is, what is the percentage that you think SK can take this one?
I think they have about a 40% chance to win this game. They don't have the raw talent that NRG have, but I think they definitely have the composition to do so.
I'd be inclined to agree. The Ra, the Ullr, the Geb, the Cerberus, the Nemesis, SK have certainly set them up for success. We'll see if it's going to be fruitful. Game number 1, I'll give it over to the casters.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Toley, on the desk. Finch and Graham still together, but this time we're casting. Going to be NRG up against SK.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one. Mainly a pace set to see where SK are doing now with how their recent performances have gone. Obviously, they had a rough set earlier today against Dignitas. Now they're going to have to deal with this one too.
And NRG, going to see if they can make a bit of a bounce back after what they just had happen to them as well. So we'll see if they can come back in.
Just pop that down again.
Yep.
How come is it a hard cast review? I have to fix your mic for you.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know.
We are going into the game, though. Game 1, NRG up against SK.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this one plays at the start. SK Gaming going to have an interesting time of things here. I like the composition, though. The desk was talking about it. I don't think there's anything really wrong with the desk. With the team composition they've set up so far. The desk was talking about that. 40% seems a little bit high. You guys in Mixer Chat get to vote really for who you think is going to win. Most of the time, from what I've told about SK, though, they've got a die-hard 15% of fans.
That's what it looks like to me. SK's fans going to be supporting them here in this game 1, and they're going to need all the help that they can get. It is not going to be an easy task to take down NRG, especially after they just dropped a set. So we can sure they're going to be coming in trying to rectify that as soon as possible. We saw the standings. They've all played 8 games up till now, or 8 sets rather, them, Dignitas, Rival. So they need to get these last 2 wins, or as many of them as they can, to give themselves the best chance to get to land.
Adapting's on the Serqet, though, and that's always going to be a scary factor for me. I think Serqet is one of Adapting's best gods. Like, clearly. Over in Europe, he's probably the best in that situation.
Yeah, I agree. I think Adapting is, certainly one of the top tier right now. Personally, myself, I think he's, best in the world. Going to be seeing how that one goes a little bit later on. We'll see.
I'm not trying to discredit Adapting by saying he's not the best in the world right now. I just think Baskin is just outplaying everybody.
He's that
in
good.
Both leagues right now. Adapting, best player in Europe.
Yeah.
Baskin, best player in North America and the world. But maybe if both these teams do make LAN, NRG, and of course Space Station Gaming, then we might get to see that matchup if we're lucky.
Hopefully, we'll get a chance to take a look at it. Sounds like at least they're in Mixer Chat pretty
90%.
Heavily going in one decision. What was it, 81% I think it was?
Yep, but 19 for SK. SK guaranteed, for some reason, SK always get 19%, 15% minimum, sorry, I should say, in all of their games. There is a 15% die-hard group of fans in Mixer Chat that always side with them.
And I think that makes sense. I mean, Funballer, Lawbster, these are players that have been around for a long time now, and they've done very well at times. I mean, there are times when Funballer was on a squad that was the best in the world. Times the same for the Lawbster. There's potentially some trouble for WhoDaBest. Already level 2 is adapting. Deathbane puts in a good bit of damage. Continuing to try and run away, but the speed bump is too strong. Now they catch him out in the minion wave. And with the last bit of damage, this is going to be a fall here for WhoDaBest.
I feel so bad for WhoDaBest. This is just one of those deaths where you're like, you are going to die. There's nothing you can do right. Funballer, meanwhile, he's having the same issue in the jungle right now. And he's got his 2 boots, though. He's embarrassing emilitoo for a while. There's nothing worse than being a support going, well, I'm dead. I'm going to try and juke, but there's only so many jukes you can do before you run out and the abilities come back up. Got speed buff with Adapting. He was never getting away at being only level 1 with his shell down.
Ended up falling, did WhoDaBest. And don't forget, this is the sub or replacement, whatever term you want to use, support for this SK squad. It used to be Badja who was over there, and SK got off to a rocky start. This is one of the adjustments that they made to try and right the ship. And already the duo lane of SK has fallen behind EmilZy and emilitoo, which is never a good sign, considering just how strong this duo is.
Yeah, Funballer and Lawbster have mentioned to me that WhoDaBest will be playing with them for the remainder of this split.
Yeah.
But they are looking at other options too, so we'll find out what happens to them during this summertime. Obviously, no relegations in the Pro League anymore, so they don't have time to worry about that. But what they do have time to do is find a potential replacement for Badger, full-time one this time, and fix some of the issues that they've seen presented to themselves in this split.
And they've got plenty of places to look. Every weekend now, the minor league is playing, and there's teams there that are looking very strong. And Signum is one of those ones that comes to mind. They're up there at the top. There's a lot of strong minor league teams to look at, so got to make sure that you're staying on your A game, not just for your performance in the SPL, but because there's always those players that step below that are trying to look for your spot.
Sure, and WhoDaBest at the moment, like, I'm not going to discredit his performances. He was known as Adapt Twig, if you've not heard of him before over in Europe. Very high-level player anyway, but he's not a support superstar. He's done a very serviceable job as a support, though, which isn't the easiest thing in the world to do. Support does get overlooked a lot of the time and seen as a very basic class in terms of at least mechanics. But in terms of decision-making, shot calling, Very tricky. Very, very tricky.
And whenever we talk about these kind of differences, for me, it always ends up falling underneath the umbrella of experience, more than likely. It's playing at this high level against the likes of emilZy and emilitoo and adapting on a regular basis. There are very few people who do get that kind of experience. And when you get up here at this level, you can kind of see that gap.
And WhoDaBest has played against these guys in ranked games more often than not. But
Sure.
mid lane adapting, going all in here.
Last
and
breath is put onto him as well. This could certainly spell trouble for the mid laner. Able to juke out the last bit of damage, not on the mark. Yammyn, though, with the minion wave, moves into the tower. Not gonna find it. Lawbster able to just barely, with an extra movement speed, juke back to the tier 2.
Lawbster getting away there. Bit surprised Yammyn missed a couple of those abilities there.
Yeah.
Bit surprising. Just one of those. Should have been enough for that poison to tick down and find the kill. So a missed opportunity from NRG to get their 3rd kill on the board. Specifically for adapting 2, which, you know, give adapting 2 kills early on. I mean, he's got an assist right now, but give him a 3rd one, you're going to be in a bit of trouble.
The beads, I think, came in pretty big for Lawbster. Not getting pushed back in by the last breath from adapting certainly helped out. But I think you're right. Even a couple more in-hands could have spelled the difference there in the mid lane. They could not find them. So Lawbster still alive, but without that extra safety for another 100+ seconds.
I like that little shield that WhoDaBest just threw out in Funballer then. emilitoo goes aggressive against these two. Pretty surprised, actually, that he did that. Like, WhoDaBest clearly just playing very safe, doesn't want to make a mistake in this laning phase. But that shield, most of the time you use it for CC immunity after a CC has been applied to break it. But that time just used to prevent some damage, which means he's not getting poked at lane, doesn't have to use as many potions, you know, just survives a little bit better.
You talk about emilitoo playing in aggressive there. That was a lot of confidence. He does not have beads. He does not have Aegis. He has Blink.
And honestly, I think emilitoo's just abusing the situation of WhoDaBest and Funballer still getting to grips with being a dual lane in the Pro League, because they don't know where anybody is on the map. As we see Lawbster fall in mid lane.
Where's he on the map? He's already fallen. Could be the same thing said for Faeles as he continues to try and juke around inside the minion wave. Now Yammyn drops the glyph, gonna give him the extra range, and he ain't missing him this time. Puts Faeles back into the base. 4 kills now for NRG in total.
Yeah, that little pause was the biggest thing there from Yammyn. That on the last little strike of that, just held it and went, which way you gonna juke? And you're dead. So nice little use from NRG there to capitalize. Now Yammyn gets himself 2 kills because he picked up both of those in the mid lane. Puts everybody on SK behind outside of Ducky.
Ducky, the only one that hasn't fallen yet, but also the only one who hasn't been in a bad numbers situation just yet. They have not paid a whole lot of attention to this solo lane where maniaKK on the Chulainn continues to trade out relatively evenly with Ducky on the Cerberus. But everywhere else, though, it's already starting to get a little bit out of control. It's about a 2,000 gold lead already at 6 minutes.
Yeah, we'll see what happens next with this one, because at the moment, NRG may just continue to keep the pressure up. It's looking solid for them to do so. Obviously, ultimate down for Yammyn and adapting means they'll probably wait around for a minute or two, but as soon as they're available, there'll be aggression again.
Faeles is moving aggressively forward after we saw the Cobra's kiss that did not land from adapting. Instead, not going to be able to find anything. He comes back towards the jungle, but I mean, I kind of want to highlight emilitoo again in this dual lane with the Blink pickup. That's a pickup you make before you really know exactly how this lane's gonna go. That's just pure confidence. emilitoo knows that he has a chance to outplay WhoDaBest and Funballer here.
I mean, he did it against adapting too. Sorry, not adapting, against an Ataraxia in the last set. So no real surprise to see him go back to it again. WhoDaBest got to be more respectful there. That Impale was a misplay from emilitoo. He will not be happy about that. That Impale should have put him into the pillar. He just didn't expect the movement speed to be as quick as it was. Otherwise, that could have been a dead Geb there, or at least forced out a shield and maybe even ultimate just to get himself out of danger.
Yeah, if he could have kept that, the stun from the Impale might not even have been a chance for it. He does find a good number of auto attacks afterwards, or basic attacks rather afterwards, and brings WhoDaBest down pretty low. And this frees up so much space for emilZy. Look where emilZy is. He doesn't have to be here in the dual lane, but WhoDaBest has to stay, or else Funballer will get heavily punished by this Anhur.
And you're completely right, Finch. This is just allowing emilZy to group up with the trio of himself, adapting in Yammyn in the mid lane to keep the pressure there. WhoDaBest is just kind of just sat in the duel and like, well, I guess I'm farming.
Oh, Faeles in a lot of trouble. He gets impaled, he gets Desert Furied, and he gets deleted. Now it's Lawbster who's falling next. Adapting finds the second kill, and they are not done yet. WhoDaBest is the next one on the chopping block. Yammyn finds that kill. They can turn their attention quite confidently now towards the Gold Fury.
It's almost like I've seen this show before. We saw NRG lose that set against Obey, and the next game against SK, what happens? anger, hatred.
That's what it feels like. Doesn't it feel personal here from
It
NRG?
does.
As if SK did something to him. Cobra's Kiss, Deathbane, say goodbye to half your
Good
health. Axe stun lands, and he's not even gonna look for any more damage. Funballer's trying to find his way out, but all the while, Gold Fury has been completed by the boys of NRG.
And notice what Adapting did then. Instead of going to the Gold Fury, helping his team do that, he will get a bit of farm in the left-hand side, make sure he doesn't get pushed under the tower by Funballer. But not only that, make sure Funballer's kept in check so he can't look to rotate and look for a cheeky hail of arrows steal on that Gold Fury.
The sad part is, I don't think
Okay,
Funballer
commit.
really was gonna try and look for it anyway, as Yammyn has to be prepared to dash. Slicing Dice comes out, so they do get some damage on him, and he's low on mana, but behind the tier 1, they're gonna be safe. No chance for Lawbster, and fails to find it.
Surprised Lawbster didn't go for a cheeky little ult there, looking for a pick up towards the end. He knew they were both going to dash if he could have predicted. Obviously, this is a matter of millimeters and stuff. It's not been too important, but it would have been nice to see the ult thrown out and maybe find a cheeky little snipey kill there. Something I would have seen Lawbster do in previous seasons for sure.
Yeah, the difference there was just that he didn't have enough damage. That'd have been one thing, but the ultimate wasn't thrown out at all, so now we'll never really know if Lawbster can find it. Taking a look at these mid laners, though, we can already see a big difference. Warlock staff has been completed for Yammyn and the boots. Meanwhile, Lawbster's kind of lurking in between as the tier 1, or the tier 1, I think it's the Lost Artifact, and then tier 1 the Warlock staff as well.
Feel a bit sorry for Ducky this game too, because it's going to be an awkward one for him on that Cerberus. There's nothing worse than being a solo laner, or any laner, in fact, to look across the map and go, okay, everybody else is losing. Badly. Damn, they're going to expect me to carry, but I'm just a dog. And there's only so much a dog can do, you know?
Especially on those side lanes. Faeles is in the jungle. Faeles is gone already. He's back by his
Game
back
squad
harpies.
time.
What's he supposed to be able to do? Funballer dies underneath this tier 1 tower. NRG care not for whose side of the map is theirs. They go wherever they want.
my
Lobster's the
Lord.
next one in trouble. A Gep shield is enough to keep him alive, but Final Judgment waiting for it to fall off. 458 just barely doesn't get it done, but Adapting is there. Finds it, and Lobster falls again.
You're like, wow, that was a great timed ult from Yammyn. He held it for the shield to come and do cool down to perfection. But not only that, Finch, then Adapting's like, no, you're not surviving this. This isn't happening. So what ends up happening next is going to be the real question. 10-0 right now, as NRG will get a tier 1 tower on the left-hand side. Look towards the tier 2 eventually for the moment. Right-hand side, though, the tier 1 tower is getting weakened down. Ducky back in base and Adapting over here. Going to start to pressure down the tower a little bit more.
There's a big grouping over here on the solo side of the map right now. maniaKK, though, is going to be backing. They're actually going to come over for these mid-harpies. Thought for a moment that they were going to look for that Pyromancer, but instead they'll back off. And look at this grouping. Faeles, WhoDaBest, and Lawbster. They don't feel comfortable in their own jungle. Certainly not on their own right now.
Well, that's what just happened in the last little rotation of kills we saw, was they were not even past their red buff and they were getting killed between the tier 1 and tier 2 towers. Good news is, though, there's no tier 1 towers left, so, you know, just stand at the tier 2, I guess.
So they stay back where they are safe. Take a look at these charts, Hindu. It's already getting to the
Brutal.
point where it's very tough for the SK squad. 7,400 gold, 9,300 experience, 10-0 in the kills as well. SK really don't even have a leg to stand on. You mentioned Ducky earlier in the solo lane, but it's not as if he's even ahead of maniaKK. There's just too much global gold going his way.
I'm an 8k gold kind of guy this season, Finch, and by 8k gold kind of guy, when that number gets hit, if you go above 8k before the 30-minute mark, it's done. Put it away. You're not going to come back from that. If it's after 30 minutes and you're 8k down, still possible. Just because of the fact you'll probably be around full build by that point anyway, or at least close to it. And the respawn timers mean that it will come into play. However, being this far behind at 12 minutes, it's only a matter of time.
It is going to be particularly difficult, particularly with some of these build paths. emilitoo itemizing into some defense here to make himself even harder to be taken down. Looks like particularly wants to try and make himself a little more survivable as the Pyromancer goes as well. I mean, there's just
Just
no
two characters.
targets for NRG. There's no targets.
Well, the main thing there is NRG just get Pyromancer for free because, look, no one on the map to really give vision. There was only 2 characters.
They
that
can't
did
come
that
up and
solo.
contest that. There's no way.
Nope.
No.
So just abuse the situation a little bit more. That's almost putting him the magical 8k for me. We'll find out. There we go. It's over. Put it
Wow.
away. This one's done.
Hot take, Graham.
Yep.
That NRG
I've been
are,
around a long
winning
time,
this
Finch,
game.
just in a lot of games. And, like, this is one where you're like, all right, we messed up. We got beat. Duo lane didn't have the greatest time at the start of the game. Neither did the mid-jungle composition. Both mid-junglers down. 3 kills so far. And this isn't to discredit SK. This is just NRG playing amazing right from the outset. And SK had a troubled season so far. Towards the bottom end of the table alongside Mouse. with the support changes, it's been awkward for them anyway. And obviously, this hurts, you know? It hurts as an SK fan to have to watch a game like this.
It's aggression is the word for me from NRG. They have been confident that they could play better than SK Gaming, and they've been playing like it all game long, kind of daring SK to step up to them, and they built themselves an early lead. And now it's to the point where it doesn't matter if there's a skill gap, because the gold experience gap is too much for them to try and cross at this point. NRG Esports, unless they, barring some kind of huge error, SK Gaming are certainly going to have a hard time finding their way back in. Not too far behind, though, is Ducky. If they can find the dream initiation, perhaps, catch someone out in isolation, try and get a few picks of themselves, that's the only way to try and climb back in.
And you're right, maybe look towards Ducky to make an impact if they can get to a single team fight, because at the moment, there's no real chance to. I mean, maniaK's got a 2-level lead over Ducky now, and that's not really because maniaK's been out farming Ducky. It's probably just down to the fact that the pressure on the map is relieved so much that maniaK can run rampant now, and Ducky's like, all right, cool. Like, I'm just going to keep farming and try to survive. But now, going to make a rotation. Ducky turns up to try and help out his team.
Pluck is off the mark from emilZy, and now Ducky does use the Stygian Torment, but emilZy counters it with his own lurking
Lawbster.
in the waters. maniaK is able to find Lawbster on the backside, but now he might be in a little bit of trouble himself. Faeles finds the first kill of the game for SK Gaming, and they try and defend their tier 2.
The comeback is on, Finch. Maybe that's the window they needed. Faeles getting that kill at the end of that. The main thing there was Yammyn snipe hit Lawbster, and it destroyed him. And maniaK went, oh, hello. Got himself a free kill. Did pay with it his life, though, by just overextending a little bit too far. Meanwhile, though, NRG can now look towards the Gold Fury.
They are indeed taking that Gold Fury, and it should not be any trouble for them to grab that one at all. It's already down below quarter health, already done. NRG able to take it, and SK cannot walk up into that one.
Was discussing earlier on about this Medjai's cloak we're seeing on the Anhur a little bit earlier. This is the second time I've seen it today, actually. After going for boots on a stacking item, he's gone for the Medjai's cloak. Now this time, I don't mind it. I like it. The reason I didn't like it last time is because you've already got beads, you've already got Desert Fury, which is on a 75-second cooldown. Why do you need a Medjai's cloak too? Like, how much CC do you want to get hit by? What's going on? This game, though, he went blink, which means he's not got those beads available, so the additional Medjai's cloak means he technically does have a beads.
It's their third blink, really.
It is.
maniaK and adapting makes sense. I mean, emilitoo makes sense, too, because he's playing it very confidently. He wants to look for those blink, I'm sure, impale stuns, but maybe not always traditional. You may usually want to have that survivability, but I mean, what's the big crowd control that he's worried about on SK Gaming where he'd want to buy beads anyway? Faeles doesn't bring the typical control from the jungle that you might see. It's mostly the slows, Lawbster, slows. It's mostly like, what, Cataclysm?
Yeah, well, get knockup is very impactful all the time.
It's got to be
Shockwave.
pre-beads, yeah.
Well, Shockwave is something that you will get hit by whether you mean to or don't, because it just, nice little cone effect that shows further out, so will make an impact. So maybe he just wants to make sure he doesn't get hit by that, or the first CC is just wasted every single time.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's why he feels comfortable not going for the beads.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because the Mad-Guy's cloak is strong enough to get him away from just like maybe a Shockwave or a Cataclysm if one hits him. Yeah.
So next up for SK really is, how do they try and fight back into this? A lot of people will be asking, and honestly, most of the fans at home have seen games like this before in their own games, and it's kind of like, well, let's hope they make a mistake. But how many mistakes will NRG have to make at this point to throw this game?
Do you think it's nice for them to be able to see it from this side, though? Like from the side of like the team that's up?
How do you mean?
Well, normally I'm assuming they see these kind of one-ended losses because they're the ones that are losing.
Oh, you trying to say chat is that bad?
I'm trying to say they probably lose a lot.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Do you know the average person in an average game in Smite wins 51% of their games?
Yeah.
Because that's how it's designed to be.
Yeah.
Because did you know, Finch, in every game, half the people that play it lose.
And half win.
That's correct. Well
yeah.
done. Well
We're
done.
both pretty good at math so far here.
Well done. I mean, sometimes you win, but it doesn't feel like you won, though. You know what I mean? Like, you may actually win, but
Personally,
it doesn't feel like
if I do badly and my team wins, I don't even care. Like, I'm still tilted.
Really?
I'm still tilted 100% if I just didn't
Really?
do
I
well.
type GG easy when that happens.
Hindu Man is
Do you ever
that
get those
person.
players in game?
Yes!
In the game?
Yes!
The one that gets-
I've played with you before.
The one that gets farmed on the enemy team, and they're like, GG easy. I could have thrown another 500 times. It would have been fine. This is mean. What Adapting is doing here is mean. He's so inexperienced, but the reason he stood there is like, come on, someone come over here and farm this wave so I can farm you, is what the game plan is, and use wall coverage.
Trying to see if anyone will step out of position with the crazy notion that they should be able to farm their wave It doesn't happen, though. They stay grouped up to SK, and the Pyromancer gets taken down by NRG. Ducky is a little bit far forward here, and he could potentially get caught out. Damage comes out from Yammyn in tow. maniaKK is about to rage transform. He uses the ult first, since it's about to go on cooldown anyway. Final Judgment, charge, Final Judgment fires. Doesn't quite find the mark that he's looking for, but the terror is enough. Desert Fury comes through too.
Okay, so this is a weird fight for NRG now because they invested a lot there into Ducky, who's still alive, but they find Lawbster on the back end of that fight after a lot of investment was on Ducky. Great work from him to survive. That was NRG trying to abuse the situation more so.
EmilZy caught out beyond the tier 2 tower. Teo up to get him away. Staging Torment gonna pull him right back in. He is a dead crocodile for sure. And they defend the tier 2 tower. NRG get a little bit off focus there, trying to find the kill into Ducky, and finally get slowed down a bit.
Yeah, NRG got impatient. We talk about the patience in some of the earlier games they played today, and game 1 specifically against Obey. That's a lack of patience from NRG. They know they're massively in the lead. They know they can take on SK. And SK are like, we know we can't fight you, so we're just going to sit back. Like, fine, we'll just wait. We'll wait, and we'll sit at tier 2 towers. And NRG got bored and went, all right, we're going to force a fight. Didn't work out as well as they hoped. It ended up going 1-for-1.
That kind of completes your analogy about a random ranked game, though, doesn't it?
Pretty much.
Where you make that fight over there in solo. And
I mean, that does actually happen in a lot of people's games in ranked, where
that's
they
what I'm
get a
saying.
huge lead, and then you'll just bite off a little bit more than you can chew, you know? You just stay around a little bit too long, or try and take too much instead of just being safe and keeping the pressure going the right way.
And this is why we're always talking so much about clean play when we see it, about that patience when we see it, because it is difficult. It's not easy to close the games out the right way, especially at this high level. You know, you got to try and force these fights on the objective, pull them deeper into the jungle where it's less safe.
Listen,
And
all these pro players want to be on the highlight reel for the right reasons too.
Right.
All the time. So they're after kills. They want to be the highest on the KDA, if possible. They want to do showboat plays to show off how good they really are. Because if they don't, the fans at home call them bad.
They will.
Instead of being patient and being organized, it's just not as exciting.
well,
or
EU
entertaining.
gets called boring all the time, and I think they play pretty calculated. They don't want to take those unnecessary risks. So to some extent, they're right. As the Gold Fury comes tumbling down for NRG, this time Ducky could be in a whole lot more trouble. Adapting is the one that finds the last hit. Cataclysm, Shockwave, doesn't seem to matter. Pluck pulls him right back in. WhoDaBest, who's gone? maniaKK is the one that finds that kill. Tier 2 tower, tumbling to the ground. NRG Esports are done playing around.
And this is where you can see the gold lead really establishing itself. Now look at the itemization between these two teams, as once again Lawbster getting all in by the front line of NRG.
NRG take the Phoenix in mid as well. That also tumbles to the wayside. They instead back up now to look for these tier 2 towers, but yet again, NRG able to collapse onto Ducky to start that fight off, Graham, and there was really no way back in for SK.
No way at all. The Impale was fantastic from Elite. I think it was the Impale and the stun from Yammyn that combined nicely just to make sure that Ducky couldn't do anything. Had his ultimate available, couldn't even get it off in time with how that situation was, and that just makes it an easy pickup for NRG of a Phoenix in mid lane.
And if you're Ducky who's even with maniaKK, that's almost exactly where you want to be. He's like on the backside, ultimate available, I'm going to stomp and bring everyone in. But instead, he gets controlled, doesn't have like a Mad Guy's Cloak, which is very popular, so he does get CC'd very easily. And instead, he ends up falling. And NRG Esports take the tier 2 and the Phoenix.
Really do feel like for adapting this season, don't give him Serqet. That's the major god that he's been playing to an outstanding level. Like, him and Cuvo went back and forth in a set recently when he was playing against Dignitas, where it's like, Cuvo had an amazing Serqet game, and Adapting went, okay, hold my beer, and I'll show you how to play him too. Like, Adapting Serqet, probably the best in the world.
Yeah, he's very, very good at the Serqet pick and putting it on display right now. We might not have too much more time to talk about it, Graham, so I do want to talk to you a little bit about his Ducky is able to jump for his life and get away from NRG. But the Relic Dagger for EmilZy, we've seen this come up a couple times, I feel like, when teams are ahead. Is it just more like a win? More item? Like, talk to me a little bit about this one we got to say.
It's more capitalized on the situation. 30 seconds off your cooldowns means your sprint and your shell in this particular case is up a little bit more often. And those being up more often means that you can aggress again earlier. You can go a little bit deeper because they're not going to have their relics up, and you will, even if they're both used at the same original time.
NRG now has a chance, after taking the tier 2 in solo, to grab this Phoenix for themselves. Tier 1 in duo was taken by SK in response, and they're all now here for the defense, but they can't step up. Ducky gets impaled again. Ducky gets plucked again. Right back into the Cobra's kiss. emilitoo finds the last hit. Cataclysm not going to get it done. No evade and punish stun as Faeles is forced to retreat, but lurking in the waters is going to chase him down. maniaKK is right there to help, in the back line are just pumping the damage into the Phoenix.
Really good work from emilZy there with the plucks, consistently just bringing in anyone that NRG want to get there realistically. Still, though, a couple of members alive from SK here, but they're trying to pick them apart. WhoDaBest will fall. 2 Phoenixes down. Titan could be under pressure here.
Titan certainly could be. Look at the gigantic fireman anyway pushing in. Lawbster going to do everything he can to try and keep it alive, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. All 5 members of NRG are here with too tremendous of a lead. NRG Esports are able to take game 1. Lawbster does find emilZy there in the end, but it just won't be enough.
17-4 at the end of that one. SK just couldn't get themselves in that game whatsoever. There was no opportunity for them to do it.
No, that game looked like it was all NRG from minute 1, essentially, Graham, and they never took their foot up off the gas. And that's what you want to see from a squad like NRG, full of world champions. When they get their lead, play it all the way through.
That was an anger game. That's what it was. It was
It
just
felt like it,
angry
didn't it?
about the obey set and destroyed.
Well, we want to know who was your MVP in that game, and you got 5 really strong candidates after the performance that we just saw. So
Roll
make sure
a
you're
dice.
voting there in Mixer chat.
Just roll a dice.
Sure.
If it lands on 6, pick the whole team.
SK didn't do anything to them. That seemed personal.
It did. That was brutal. That really was brutal. Unfortunate for SK to be the ones in that situation, because I think most teams would have had the same result.
Yeah, they looked up and they're like, oh, did NRG just lose? Oh, no. Gonna get over there to the desk, though. Let Tom and Tolly break down that game.
You ready for my John Finch impersonation?
I might be.
Oh no. That's it, I'm done.
Oh. Okay, then. That was a nice John Finch impression.
I think that's the reaction a lot of people said when they were rooting for SK in this one. NRG just took control and never let go. Really agree with Hindu Man on that one. All 5 players signed up, showed up, and did their job. This is NRG working on all cylinders, whether it's because they're mad about beforehand or whether this is just what NRG looked like. I think it's a little bit of the latter. A return to normalcy for NRG, and a return to normalcy as adapting is going to be your MVP. The most valuable jungler here, looking really, really strong. 6, 1, and 9 for the Serqet player.
There's a difference between Serqet support for emilZy versus Serqet jungle for adapting. Really liking this god. I still like the fact that NRG prioritized it here in the very first game. It's one of these gods that go in and out of the flavor. Sometimes it's first picked and then sometimes it's just not.
It's definitely a field character. Serqet is very strong when you're on, right? A lot of intricacies, and I mean, you were a player, right? You some days you're just not as on as others, and Serqet's a character that you have to be at 125%.
It just really worked out also against SK's composition because they drafted the Raw and the Geb after the Serqet was already locked in.
Yeah.
That was questionable.
Yeah, that was a little bit odd. Although it seems like our matchups seem to be a little bit almost blasé. Yesterday we saw CounterLogic Gaming pick the hell into an Odin and a Serqet.
Sure.
And the response, I saw on Twitter, the response from CounterLogic Gaming after the fact was, you know what, we've played into that before. And I think that's one of the worst matchups. So maybe picking the Raw into the Serqet, maybe that's, sometimes players can just get over that opposition.
Geb makes sense because you can shield whoever that the Serqet is going on. That extra bit of a shield definitely just making the life a little bit longer, whereas the heal is going to get 100% counters. So Raw was a little questionable. I love the Geb pick, though, but Game 2 picks and bans. I'm curious to see the adaptations that SK is about to make.
Let's hit it.